Hello, it's George with Watchman German Shepherds. We're going to give a consideration of the subject rescue versus new puppy. And I think the question becomes, is responsible puppy breeding ethical when there are so many rescues available? And so I want to look at a couple of things concerning this subject. And I would first say that the two are not mutually exclusive. In other words, you can have a rescue and a responsibly bred new puppy. And so I think when we move along here and consider the reason that people have dogs to begin with, the question will answer itself. The question of, is responsible puppy breeding ethical when there are so many rescues available? And so, I thought through a lot of it, and I feel that when you break it down, there are two main categories why people have dogs to begin with. Of course, we say dogs are man's best friend, right? We've all heard that. And so the two main reasons, and really help me out if you want, that there would be others outside of these two, which are vast in and of themselves. Nonetheless, I believe the two areas of companionship and service, one form of service or another, those are the two reasons why people have dogs to begin with. And so companionship by itself is good, and service by itself without companionship is not so good. Ideally, having a dog for companionship and service is really the ideal situation. Dogs love to please, and whatever the breed is, they just love to please. So service of some type or another really fits the bill there, because they get the idea when they do something well. As far as companionship is concerned, don't we just love the everyday playfulness and quirkiness and simplicity that we get from our dogs? And so that's a little summary to me of the things that we enjoy. So whether it's in the home, in the car, at the park, and beyond, we appreciate those things certainly about our dogs. And so, and then as far as service, well, there's quite a vast, and this can in no way be exhaustive. Neither of the considerations as far as companionship or service can be exhausted. They have to be lived, right? And so I'm sure you're following here and seeing some of these things, but there is consideration, of course, to be had as far as the service types. And so I made a little list, and I'll read that here and just go over some of these things just under the heading of service dog. And service dogs start with, I would just say, the seeing eye dogs, right? They help people, blind people, navigate day-to-day necessities, and of course they're a companion as well, and performing those two functions there, which again is ideal. And then we have search and rescue dogs, right? So search and rescue dogs, they work in, whether it's natural disasters, mass casualty, they work as cadaver, and hopefully just finding people living. They search and rescue people that are alive, and of course that's just tremendous. And then there's also scent detection work, right? So I had a customer, and she has celiac disease, and she is training a dog currently to detect if there's any celiac through different transfers. She knows the food that she can eat and can't eat, and yet sometimes there's cross-contamination. So she's training her dog to detect that and to let her know. And then also there are cancer detection dogs. I don't know if you've ever seen any of those shows. They were on years ago where they found that a dog is more accurate than the machines, any machines that they have in computers, in detecting early stage cancer. And then also strokes or seizure detection. Years ago, I had sold a puppy to a fellow who was going to have his dog trained. He had seizures, and he was going to have his dog trained to let him know before the seizure came on full, when there was just the mildest change in his chemistry, the dog would scent that through his skin. It's amazing. Also under service work would be protection, right? So a dog, we say, is not considered a deadly force, but they can certainly act as a deterrent and more in the home. And some people want to use a dog a lot of times. Certainly, I'm a German Shepherd breeder, and people always have that in mind. They want the dog for a companion, and they want the dog for this particular service function. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? And so a dog is man's best friend for a reason, and they serve a function. We serve a function for them. It's a mutual relationship. So I know that's very basic, but it's worth considering as we're trying to just generalize and consider some of the things going on when we're asking the question, is responsible puppy breeding ethical when there are so many rescues? So I thought it would be a good idea just to take a look on a chart of some kind. Just put it up on the on the editing feature here on the video, to look at the different dog groups that there are, as recognized by the AKC. There are working dogs, there are herding dogs, there are terrier dogs that are in the terrier group, and so there's 7 different groups, and they all have specialized functions that they were bred for, and that really, to me, goes a long way to answering the question, is responsible puppy breeding ethical when there are so many rescues available? Sometimes you need the specialized traits that come through discriminating breeding practices to get these particular service functions, and that's just the way that it is. It doesn't make any other dog less valuable, but let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. So I'm going to put up these charts and just consider again through that way and just get an idea. And so 2 charts I'm going to put up is the AKC chart. I'm going to put up another little chart which will just have a check list, right? So it's going to be the rescue versus purebred or new puppy, right? So, and I'm going to have a list of the different considerations, okay? And I would say to you that one of the considerations that I get from customers with a puppy is they want the new puppy experience. They want that bonding that comes when you get a new puppy with the family. Often my customers have children, and they want the dog to bond with their kids from the earliest ages. And so if you can get a rescue, that's a puppy, that's fine, but you're not going to get that otherwise. And so it's not all or none. It's not one is more or less valuable as far as its worth and value. That is really not at all what we're talking about. But nor are we talking about doing away with one because of the other. So people that breed don't say, hey, do away with rescues. People that breed say, if people were to not be irresponsible in letting their dogs out and letting litters happen that are unplanned, and thereby causing puppies to be born that are unwanted in the first place versus planned breeding. I have customers, I have a waiting list, and people are waiting. In my case, they want the German Shepherd, but any of the other purebred dogs, and a lot of times these days people want these designer or mixed bred dogs, and they have a particular purpose, function, service beyond just companionship in mind. And so that's a lot, and it is a subject worthy of consideration, of course, and people struggle over the ethical aspects of new puppy versus rescue, and that's fine, and I want to address those things in this video, and I hope that I'm accomplishing just that. So I'll put up the charts here, and we'll just consider, again, by way of looking at these things, summarizing them by means of charts and a little checklist, and you judge for yourself, of course, but I do want to give fair consideration to both, because it's not, again, unethical to responsibly breed new puppies, whether they're just for companionship and people want the puppy experience, families for their kids or for themselves, they want to go through the early stages of bonding, or other things, specialized traits that a particular breed may carry. In my case with the German Shepherd, they're not the best scent detection dogs or the best protection dogs, or they're not the best dogs in obedience or agility, but they are very versatile in each of those areas. And so there are some dogs, bloodhounds, and that people use for various functions, and that's why, again, there are so many different breeds. They were bred over time, and the traits that were desired, they kept developing those, and that's why there are so many different types of dog breeds and the different groups of dog categories in the first place. And so let's get those shorts up and take a look, and I'll have maybe a closing word after I put those shorts up. And here we go with the charts. So I think looking at these charts here really goes a long way to answering our question today. Again, the question being, is responsible puppy breeding ethical when there are so many rescues available? I do think really that those charts speak for themselves. And of course it's not unethical to breed a new puppy. And of course it is often irresponsible, whether it's a case of puppy mill type breeding or unplanned. The neighbor lets his dog out and the other neighbor let his dog out, and that results in an unwanted pregnancy and an unwanted litter of puppies. And so we have to be careful not to throw the baby out with the bathwater in this area. And so I hope that this video has been helpful if you're making a decision, or maybe you just wrestle with the fact that in the world we have this seemingly contrary thing going on, and it should not be. And well, a lot of things should not be, but again, I think that with a little understanding of some of the facts, we can kind of be at ease a little bit, and by all means, you can rescue a dog. As I understand, they're starting to become more available. The time of the COVID, the initial time of the COVID, saw a lot of the rescues and shelters empty out, and there was no availability or little. And then now I believe that some of the people that rescued, it seems certainly in some part, they are back to normal, and well, they're not being responsible and taking care of that puppy, and they bring it back to the shelter, or it ends up in a shelter for whatever reason. So, which by the way is not the case with me. I've only had just a couple of dogs that my customers brought back, and they were under quite stressful and painful circumstances that they had in their life, personal things, and that happens in either case. In the case of rescue or the new puppy experience, I understand that. Suffice it to say that people that invest in a responsibly bred puppy are less likely to bring their dog back, or you are less likely to find that dog in a rescue somewhere. That's just a fact. Versus the other side, where an unplanned litter resulting in an unplanned and maybe unwanted bunch of puppies, well, those typically are the ones that end up in shelters. And so I think that you have to really look at both things here. So I don't want to be overly critical towards people that are irresponsible, and I don't want to be criticized for responsibly breeding. And people that do breed responsibly, purpose-bred puppies, they should not be faulted for the fact that the rescues, or there are so many rescue puppies. And so there's a million videos about this subject, and I thought I would do my own little video as a breeder. Yes, I don't need to advertise through this video. I have customers. The German Shepherd is one of the most popular dogs in the world, and I have no need for customers, new customers. I have all the customers I want. And so the point of it is just to consider rationally, and to just really maybe settle with these different facts, and that's just part of the way things are. This is not a perfect world by any means, but I think the saying, not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, applies in this whole subject of rescue versus new puppy. So you have a great day. The Lord bless you as you trust Him. That's most important. The Bible is clear that God made all the animals to begin with, and we thank Him for that. We enjoy His creation in this, certainly, dogs and many other things as well. So I would point your direction ultimately to that, your attention rather, ultimately to God Himself. And so the Lord do bless you as you trust Him. Have a great day.